Hello everyone, my name is Blaze, and well, okay, look, I really like Ghost in the Shell. The 1995 film is probably my favorite movie, so when I heard there was going to be a live-action remake, I was skeptical at first. Hollywood and its live-action adaptations of animated TV shows and movies typically end up totally garbage. So when I actually watched the new remake, I was surprised. It surprised me just how much worse it was for me than I was expecting. I figured even if they ruined the story, it would be nice to see a few scenes from the source material done in live action, but even with nice visual effects, they changed so much from the sources that I can't even enjoy that. They took references from the 1995 Ghost in the Shell, its sequel, the show, standalone complex, all over the place. But they just throw different ideas together thinking, wouldn't it be cool if this or if that, without putting any thought into why or how that would work. The 1995 Ghost in the Shell is about blurring the line between what is human and what is machine, and creating a mix of the two to make something new, something better. The original movie shows this in all kinds of ways, from the way that Cyborg anatomy mimics human anatomy, to the way that Motoko never really blinks in the movie to subtly give her a machine or doll-like feeling. Even the city itself reinforces this by having many older buildings being built and constructed over, blending old and new alike. The new movie doesn't have any subtleties like that. Instead, it has the Major flat out saying lines like, "I wasn't made for this," or "This is what I was made for," or
"Maybe next time you can design me better."
This isn't subtlety. This is dumbing down. The new movie doesn't give the audience any credit, and assumes everyone watching is the lowest common denominator, only here to see robots get shot and explode. It's a generic action movie that just stole the GitS aesthetic. They changed and left out so many things that the only reason I could see them even calling this Ghost in the Shell is because they didn't think it would sell without a big name or some franchise attachment. Okay, now I'll be getting into spoilers, so if you for some reason care about that for this movie, then skip ahead to the time on screen. One of my biggest gripes about this movie is the massive amounts of character assassination going on, and one of the worst offenders here is the Major herself. In the original source materials, she's seen as a cool-headed, effective leader. She works better alone, but she can still lead a group and work in a team. In this new movie, she's seen ignoring orders and trying to provoke someone she's supposed to be interrogating, and I want to get into this scene a bit. The man she's interrogating had his brain hacked and was given false memories. He was being controlled by someone. He's a victim. But the Major keeps pressing him on and on until he breaks and hangs himself. The Major doesn't get chewed out for this, it's entirely ignored after this point. They just wanted to have him hang himself for shock factor and nothing else. And I'm certain of this because he wasn't even brought into a normal interrogation room. He was left standing in a room of nothing but one-way mirrors, put into a straitjacket, with his feet cuffed together and chained to the center of the floor. He couldn't even sit down because he had a cord tied around his neck, and if he tried to sit down, he would have been choking himself. The cord around his neck served no purpose but for him to use to hang himself. That's it. They just wanted you to be shocked and then forget about it, and that's incredibly stupid. There's no real point to that. There's no real actual meaning for it, it's just there for just flash. There's also the character assassination done to Hideo Kuze, but I don't know if I can even call that character assassination. They just made a new character. They gave him one sentence of Kuze's backstory from the source material, and called him Hideo Kuze. He's still nothing like the original Hideo Kuze, the one that was a leader and hero to the people, who is literally compared to Che Guevara. This Kuze is just some guy with his own revenge story he's trying to do. And that's it. And of course, it's not just the ruined characters that make the movie bad. The movie itself just also has bad writing in general. There's a scene in the movie where the Major, Bato, and Andrea, a new character added to Section 9 for no reason, all go to a club to get information from some creepy guy. Bato and Andrea go to the bar while the Major goes to find the creepy guy. She finds him in a back room when she gets her connection cut off from the others, is told to dance, and then she says she wasn't made to dance before she fights the creepy guy and his guards off by pole dancing. When she's in connection with Bato and Andrea again, she just assumes they know what happened and they move on. Why is the Major doing all of the work in this movie? Yes, she's the main character, but they're having her do everything. We hardly get to know anyone from Section 9, or who they are, or what they do. We just see the Major go out and do all of the work herself, when in the source materials she had a team she could rely on.
Didn't you promise no shooting?
I really tried, I swear. They pulled out their guns.
Why would she just assume that they know everything that's happened? All you needed to do was have her ask for a status report, or say what just happened to her to the rest of her team, or tell them what information that she got over the mind comms. Just something, anything there. But they have nothing. At the very end of the movie, they have Saito show up to save the day. I don't think he got any dialogue, and he wasn't introduced beforehand. They easily could have not had this new character Andrea and had her dialogue and actions earlier in the film replaced by Saito. It wouldn't have made a difference aside from introducing the character that saves the day in the end and getting to know him a bit. After Saito saves the day, Aramaki, chief of Section 9, goes to arrest the villain. Alone. He doesn't bring any backup whatsoever, even though Togasa, Ishikawa, Andrea, and everyone else who was left unintroduced was doing absolutely nothing at that time. Chief Aramaki doesn't have any real cybernetic parts aside from a slight brain augmentation so that he can use the mindcomm with his team. Aside from that small bit, he's totally natural. And incredibly old. Why the hell would this old man decide to try and arrest the villain without any backup, even knowing that the person he was going to arrest was just in control of a think tank? The tank was destroyed, but you see earlier in the movie that he has plenty more where that came from. Plus, the villain was a lot younger than the chief. There was a strong possibility that he had cybernetic enhancements too. Of course, despite all odds, the chief manages to shoot first, hit his target, and say a cool one-liner before the villain hits the ground. It feels like this whole movie is just mindless action, and I hate that. I don't want to say that people should leave their brains at home when watching a damn Ghost in the Shell movie. It's a complete betrayal of what the franchise is. And again, this is an adaptation. Yes, you can rate it on its own merit, but then why bother making it an adaptation in the first place, instead of something inspired by Ghost in the Shell? The whole thing is like someone made a live-action adaptation to someone's bad fanfiction. So, if this were its own new franchise, I'd maybe give it a 6.5 out of 10. That's kind of pushing it. It's a generic action movie set in an interesting universe with a forgettable soundtrack and some nice visuals. But since this is apparently an adaptation, it can be hard to even tell most of the time, I'm giving it an overall 3 out of 10. To old fans and people unfamiliar with the series alike, I strongly recommend not seeing this movie, as it's a waste of your time, money, and brainpower. I could spend more time complaining about the movie, but it would be about 2 or 3 hours of nitpicking. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the review, then by all means, give it a like, and subscribe if you want to see more.